The diner was nearly empty that cold, rainy morning. Outside, the city streets glistened with silver reflections as water poured down relentlessly, blurring the shapes of hurried strangers through the window. Inside, the smell of fresh coffee and toasted bread lingered in the air. At one of the corner booths, an old man sat quietly, soaked to the bone, his gray hair dripping and his tattered jacket stained with mud. He looked invisible, like a forgotten photograph in a dusty album, someone the world had long stopped noticing. His eyes, however, carried stories of loss, time, and quiet observation. He wasn't here for the food, he was here for something else, something deeper. If you believe that kindness and second chances can change lives, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us of the power of compassion. As the bell above the door chimed softly, the waitress, Emily, stepped out from behind the counter. She was in her mid-20s, her blonde hair tied in a neat ponytail, her uniform freshly pressed despite the long double shifts she'd been working. Her bright smile hid exhaustion, and her cheerful greetings masked the constant worry about bills piling up on her kitchen table. But no matter how tired she was, she always treated every customer with warmth. She noticed the old man right away, his worn-out clothes, his trembling hands around the coffee cup, his empty eyes. Something in her heart told her he hadn't eaten properly in days. Emily approached gently, not wanting to startle him. "Would you like something to eat, sir?" she asked softly, her voice kind. The man looked up, startled, as if pulled back from distant thoughts. He nodded slowly. "Just coffee," he murmured. She hesitated. "Are you sure? We've got a breakfast special. Eggs, bacon, toast." He smiled faintly and shook his head. "Coffee's enough. Thank you." But Emily could tell by the way he stared at the menu that he was hungry, painfully so. As she walked back to the counter, she couldn't stop thinking about him. Maybe he had no one left, no home, no money. Maybe he had once been someone important, someone who'd fallen on hard times. Whatever his story was, she knew one thing: he deserved kindness. So she made a quiet decision. Without telling him, she ordered the breakfast special and paid for it herself, slipping a few crumpled bills from her apron pocket. She didn't have much. She was already late on her rent, but something told her it was the right thing to do. When she returned to his table, she set down the steaming plate beside his coffee. "I thought you might like something warm to eat," she said with a small smile. The old man looked at the food, then at her, his lips trembling. "I didn't order this," he whispered. "It's on the house," Emily replied gently. "Enjoy it, please." He looked at her as if she had just handed him the world. Slowly, he picked up his fork, his hands shaking, and began to eat. For the first time in days, maybe weeks, he felt human again. The food, simple as it was, filled not just his stomach but a quiet, aching emptiness inside him. Emily continued serving other customers, glancing back occasionally to see if he was okay. He stayed for nearly an hour, sipping coffee and finishing every bite, until finally, he stood up, pulled an old wallet from his pocket, and took out a few small coins, barely enough for the coffee. She shook her head. "It's fine," she said warmly. "You don't owe anything." His eyes glistened with emotion as he looked at her. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice breaking. "For seeing me." That night, when Emily's shift ended, she sat in her car and cried quietly. The day had been long, her feet ached, and she still didn't know how she'd pay next month's rent. But in her heart, she felt peace. She had done something good, something that mattered. What she didn't know was that the old man had been watching her closely all along. He wasn't just a random drifter. His name was Harold Thompson, a billionaire who had built a life from the ground up, only to find himself surrounded by people who loved his wealth more than his soul. After his wife died, he had grown disillusioned with the world and decided to disappear for a while, living like an ordinary man to see if there was still genuine kindness left in it. The next morning, Harold returned to the diner. This time, he was wearing the same clothes, but his posture was straighter, his eyes clearer. Emily was surprised to see him again. "Good morning," she greeted, smiling. "Back for more coffee?" He nodded and sat in the same booth. "You make good coffee," he said softly. She laughed lightly. "It's the cheapest brand in town, but I'm glad you like it." As she poured his cup, he asked about her, how long she'd been working there, if she liked her job. Emily shrugged. "It's not easy, but it's honest work. Someday, I hope to open my own cafe, maybe a place where people like you can come in and not worry about the price." Her words struck him deeply. He'd met countless people who measured success in dollars, not dreams. But here was a young woman with nothing, dreaming not for herself, but for others. Before he left, he thanked her again, then quietly asked for her full name. She told him, thinking it was for the check. He smiled and walked out, vanishing into the gray morning. A week passed. Emily forgot about the encounter, busy with work and her endless worries. Then one afternoon, a black luxury car pulled up in front of the diner. Everyone inside turned to look. A well-dressed man stepped out, holding an envelope. He asked for Emily. Confused, she came out, wiping her hands on her apron. "Yes, I'm Emily," she said nervously. The man handed her the envelope. "Mr. Harold Thompson asked me to deliver this to you." She blinked, her heart pounding. "Who?" "You'll remember him," the man said kindly. "He was here last week." She opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a handwritten letter and a check. As she read, her knees nearly gave out. The letter said, "Dear Emily, you showed me something I thought no longer existed, kindness with no expectation of return. You gave when you had little, and you cared when no one else did. I've spent my life surrounded by wealth, but true richness, I learned, lives in hearts like yours. Enclosed is a small token of my gratitude. Use it to build your dream cafe, and may it always be a place where kindness is served first." Emily gasped as she looked at the check. It was written for $250,000. Her eyes filled with tears. The diner fell silent as she clutched the letter to her chest, crying openly. It wasn't just the money. It was the message, the affirmation that kindness had not gone unnoticed. Harold hadn't left his name on the check, just 3 words in the memo line, "For seeing me." In the months that followed, Emily's life changed completely. With Harold's gift, she opened a small cafe on the corner of Main Street, naming it Second Chances. The walls were painted warm yellow, the aroma of fresh pastries filled the air, and a sign by the door read, "If you can't pay, it's okay. Kindness is the only price here." People from all walks of life came in, students, workers, even those down on their luck. And every time Emily saw someone struggling, she remembered that rainy morning and how one small act had changed her world. Harold, though he never revealed his identity to her again, often visited quietly, sitting in the corner just like before, now in a neat suit but with the same gentle eyes. He watched the customers, the laughter, the warmth, and he smiled. In Emily, he had found not just honesty, but hope, a reminder that beneath the noise and greed, humanity still existed. One evening, as the cafe closed, Emily found a small note slipped under the counter. It simply read, "You changed more than one life that day. Thank you." There was no signature, but she knew who it was from. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in the power of kindness, and subscribe for more stories that prove goodness still exists in our world. And before you go, tell us in the comments, have you ever done or received an act of kindness that changed your life? Emily's Cafe still stands as a symbol of compassion and humanity, a reminder that even the smallest act of generosity can ripple outward, changing countless lives. And somewhere, an old man who once sat hungry and forgotten in a diner smiles quietly, knowing his search for genuine kindness finally found its answer. Because sometimes, the richest hearts belong to those who give when they have the least.